I'd like to invite Randy, who opened us, to do the bookend.
Thank you. So as we've been going through today, I've been making notes of my, I'll call them meta tags for what's been said today. And so just some of the key words that I saw today that I thought were influential. The role of anonymity, curation, mashups of data, rotting data, dynamic content, transmedia, machines talking to humans, humans talking to machines, economies of scarcity, risk-taking, opinion brokering. Actually, my two favorite quotes were toward the end of today. Marty, without conflict, no drama. I think that's a good phrase for all of us. And for Sri, we never got the question answered, but he asked the question, how are jokes assigned credit anyway? I'm not sure. Maybe that's what we'll get answered in the break. But of course, that is an analogy to how do we get credit for whatever we do in the university. Just one other thought to close out. We often think of universities as institutions that are everlasting, and perhaps that has been true. These are the oldest institutions in the world. But not all institutions stay forever. I'll go back to the time when I was working on my Selectric typewriter from IBM. IBM was maybe thinking about other typewriter makers and how they have the best typewriter on the market. Now pretty much no one cares about typewriters. But if you look at other industries, Kodak, making film, didn't have a whole lot of competition. ABC, maybe thinking about NBC and CBS, but not about much other than those two networks. Los Angeles Times, they probably didn't think they were competing against anyone. They were just a monopoly in the market here in Los Angeles. My first job out of college was, in fact, working for General Motors. And that was a period when they were starting to see foreign competition, and they were on a downward trend. But in the 70s, they really only thought about Ford and Chrysler. And it wasn't surprising, having worked at General Motors, that they were not doing well. And if you worked in that industry, you could sense the conservatism of that industry. Recognizing there was change, but not really knowing how to make that change. The only thing that really surprised me about GM is it took them 25 more years to go bankrupt. And they did do that recently, and perhaps they'll survive with the government intervention. So I bring this up not entirely in humor. I mean, universities do face challenges from the outside. We are not the only institutions that create innovation. We're not the only institutions that create research. And while we do things pretty well and we do things that are special, it's not necessarily the case that we will always be the leaders in innovation. And I want to just go back to my initial comment about the chunks in which we produce our research. And we were at a time, perhaps a few decades ago, where the chunk of product was either a peer-reviewed publication in print form or the peer-reviewed book, also in print form. Clearly, those print forms have changed. That's not the way we're primarily distributing our information. Much of what we do is text, but it's not always text today. It may be in data sets, it may be in terms of models, it may be in things that change over time. One thing that's clear is that those boundaries are not so clear as they were in the past, and because those boundaries are not so clear, it is that much harder to evaluate what we're doing. The thing that we have to always be cognizant of is that our own conservatism based on the past does not drive our future, and that we have to go back to the basic principle that as a university we're all about creating knowledge and disseminating knowledge, and the issue is how do we do that best and stay at the top of that game. So that's my ending comment.